We're going to begin this morning with the violence in Gaza, where Israel is heightening its ground and air attacks.
Overnight, the IDF launched a wave of airstrikes on all parts of the sealed-off region, while at the same time engaging Hamas militants on the ground. This video, released by the IDF, shows Israeli troops fighting inside Gaza. Hamas says it has been responding with machine guns and anti-tank missiles. It comes a day after Israel secured the release of a soldier held hostage by Hamas. Well, the group also released a video showing 3 women in captivity. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has dismissed calls for a ceasefire after UN aid organizations pleaded with the Security Council at an emergency meeting yesterday to do more to end the hostilities.
The current siege imposed on Gaza is collective punishment. 2 weeks of full siege followed by the trickle of aid last week mean that basic services are crumbling. Medicine is running out. Food and water are running out. Fuel is running out. A further breakdown in civil order will make it extremely difficult, if not impossible, for the largest UN agency in Gaza to continue operating.
We, of course, have a team standing by on this story. We're going to start with NBC News foreign correspondent Kelly Cobiella, who joins us from Eilat, Israel.
So, Kelly, what is the latest on Israel's ground and air attacks on Gaza this morning?
Well, Joe and Savannah, the IDF, the Israeli military, reports engaging in fierce battles with Hamas militants deep inside the Gaza Strip. They say that they struck some 300 targets just in the past 24 hours, saying those targets included command centers inside tunnels. They also claim to have killed a top Hamas commander who they say was involved, very much involved in planning that October 7th attack. The IDF also said that some Hamas fighters have barricaded themselves inside buildings in Gaza, and they are engaging with those militants as well. And there are reports of tanks on the outskirts of Gaza by a freelance photographer, for example, who believes that he saw a tank firing on a vehicle on a street on the outskirts of Gaza. And not only in Gaza overnight, Joe and Savannah, there was also activity on that northern border with Lebanon. The IDF said that they struck Hezbollah targets in the north, airstrikes, fighter jets carrying out strikes on targets in the north as well. Savannah, Joe?
Hey, Kelly, if we could talk a little bit now about these calls for a ceasefire. Just moments ago, we heard from a UN official warning about the devastation, saying that that was necessary from Israel. We have heard that that cannot happen. Of course, this back and forth comes with the backdrop of this unfolding humanitarian crisis. Where are we at in terms of calls for a ceasefire and also for more aid to get in?
Yeah, calls for a ceasefire from a number of countries, but that is falling on deaf ears here in Israel anyway. Prime Minister Netanyahu flatly rejecting it, saying a ceasefire is akin to surrender in the eyes of Israel, and it's just not going to happen. There have been, reports from senior U.S. officials, John Kirby, saying that the U.S. is talking to Israel about getting more humanitarian aid in, about getting more trucks inside Gaza. So far, we're talking about a number just over 100 in terms of the number of aid trucks that have gotten in since all of this started. And it simply isn't enough, the UN says. They need, before the war, some 500 trucks, according to one UN official, were getting in every day to accommodate the needs of the people inside Gaza. And now we're talking about just over 100 over the course of more than 3 weeks. The UN official who you heard from at the top of this segment, who's in charge of UNRWA, which is the UN agency which helps Palestinian refugees, said that at this point, this is a matter of life and death for millions. The UN now calling for another border crossing to be opened. It's a crossing in the south with the border between Gaza and Egypt, but it's east of that Rafah border crossing, and it's primarily used to ship goods in normal times. We simply don't know if Israel will be willing to agree to allow large volumes of trucks to enter into Gaza through a different crossing, but that is now being floated. Savannah, Joe.
Kelly, let's talk specifically about where you are right now. We understand there were reports of a drone shot down there earlier. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we're in Eilat in the south, which is basically a resort town in normal times. It's now become an evacuation center for a lot of communities in the south. So in those kibbutzim and the other communities that were evacuated after the October 7th attacks. There are tens of thousands of people here from those communities in the south. Survivors who have friends and family who are kidnapped. They have friends and family and neighbors who they are still burying, who are still being identified. And they're in a lot of these hotels. Earlier this morning, there was an alarm, a warning siren, and the alert was for some sort of aircraft. And what we have subsequently learned is that the IDF believes that this was some sort of drone. Not clear where it was sent from, but the IDF says that it was shot down before it reached Israeli borders. We do know that about 12 days ago, there were a number of drones, we don't know how many, sent allegedly from Yemen toward Israel, those shot down by a U.S. Navy destroyer. So it is something that has happened before, but this is not a common occurrence here. It's not often that sirens sound here, and it's certainly not often that we get that kind of alert saying, take cover. There's a possible unidentified aircraft heading toward Israeli airspace.
Right. Kelly, before we let you go, let's talk about the hostage situation. We know Israel says they were able to free the soldier during ground operations last night. What's the latest here?
Yeah, so the IDF is now saying that 240 people are being held hostage. That is one more than they had said even last night. And they continue to receive intelligence and update those numbers as they are able to confirm that people who have been missing for these more than 3 weeks are actually held hostage. So that number now stands at 240. When that soldier, when news of that soldier's release arrived in these hotels and other places where families are waiting for word from their loved ones, there was a huge amount of relief, of sort of momentary joy, of hope that perhaps their loved one will be next. There still is a lot of hope in a lot of these communities that more people will be released or will be rescued. And we also know that a video came out around the same time, released by Hamas. We're not showing it. We're not playing the audio because it appears as though the women in the video were under duress while making the statement. But once again, those three women are people whose loved ones now have a sign of life. They have a bit of consolation, I guess. Maybe that's not the right word, but a hope maybe that their relatives at least are alive and are able to communicate, and there may still be hope for them. A lot of people, have really mixed feelings about this ground operation. They, on one level, think, well, maybe this is the best way and their loved ones will be rescued, as that soldier was. On the other hand, they're worried about their safety.
All right, Kelly, thank you so much. Appreciate your reporting this morning.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.